Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be telling you about White Writing by Ann Duffy, part of the Feminine Gospels collection. And you can link this to Anon and the Virgin's Memo, maybe Sub, all to do with that non-existent voice, which is one of the themes running through Feminine Gospels. So I'm going to take you through this in short time today, and I just want you to think about some of the issues and themes within this poem. I'm going to highlight them to you. I've assumed that you've read the poem already. If you haven't, do that now and then come back to me. Okay, so it's an interesting one, white writing. What do we mean by white writing? Well, why does she write in white? I'd also say note the images she's using. Is there a pattern to them? And how does this connect to non-existent voices? All right, so the first stanza is, no vows written to wed you, I write them white, my lips on yours, like in the soft hours of our married years. Okay, so there's no vows, and yet we've got wedding and we've got married. In the second stanza, we've got bless, we've got white again, and we've got maiden names. There's definite imagery around weddings here, but it's also the fact that there's not a wedding. What is going on, and why is it in white? Well, something we need to know about is Helene Cixous here, okay? I'll just leave you to read that piece that she wrote. She's a famous French philosopher, okay, speaks out about women's rights. And this is what she actually says. The point to take out there is that why this privileged relationship with the voice, it says, because no woman stockpiles as many defenses for countering the drives as a man. All right? No woman stockpiles as many defenses for countering the drives as a man. What does that mean? It sounds like the man is always competitive. Let's just put that in more understandable terms. Okay? Women, certainly in Western philosophy, tend to show up as mysterious, dark, monstrous, lower down the food chain than men, and ultimately ignored. Okay, and also taught to be afraid and ashamed of themselves. But she argues that if women refuse to play the rules that patriarchy gives them, patriarchy obviously meaning a male-dominated world, they can ignite a revolution. Rather than being ashamed of being monstrously different from men, they should be proud of it. All right. So this mention of white writing is a kind of mention, really, of Helene Cixous here and the point she's making. So it's a good point to make in terms of context. Another point to make in terms of context is this, that the legislation about same-sex marriage wasn't passed until 2013. The first same-sex marriage in the UK took place in 2014. Okay, as we know, Feminine Gospels written in 2004, so this is 20 years. Sorry, beg your pardon, 10 years before the legislation was passed. So it would have been illegal for a same-sex couple to get married. Why do I say same-sex? What clues have we got that they are the same sex? Well, we know Ann Duffy had a relationship with Jackie Kay. That was a bisexual relationship. So there's that in the background. But don't forget, a poem is not necessarily completely autobiographical, right? So the only reference we've got to them being the same sex, potentially, is in the 5th stanza. If you can see it, as we lift up our skirts in the sea wade, right, at the end of the 5th stanza there. So skirts being plural is the only clue to this being a same-sex relationship. It's almost like it's being kept under cover, even though, as we know, 1968 legislation was passed that allowed homosexual relationships to go ahead and bisexual relationships. But still, it's something that wasn't mentioned. It's like you're not allowed to get married. It's not completely accepted by the state yet. And, not until 2013. So there's a sense of illicitness. There's a sense of trying to keep it secret. And writing things in white is really a kind of like an invisible ink. It's like spies communicating with each other in invisible ink, isn't it? And yet there's an intimacy, my lips on yours. Right? Light in the soft hours of our married years. Okay, it's like the writing them of white invisibly is giving them some kind of sense of permanence, perhaps. But there's no prayers. You get that written in the second stanza, and we get a syntactical parallelism here. Okay, where the same syntax is repeated. No prayers written to bless you, no laws written to guard you, no rules written to guide you, no news written to tell you. Notice how the syntax is repeated. We also get a repetition of that second line, I write them white, I write them white, repeated, right, all the way through. Okay, and then we get in each stanza, well, certainly towards the fourth and fifth stanza, we get this ephemerality creeping in, right? Ephemeral, things that don't last very long but are beautiful. Okay, so like a butterfly is beautiful, or a rose is beautiful, but only lasts a day or so. So we get in the fourth stanza there, words on the wind, traced with a stick where we walk on the sand. So they're writing their names in the sand. And of course, the tide's going to wash them away, but they're still there. It was still written. Foam on a wave. Look at that in the fifth stanza. Foam on a wave. Now that lasts for a moment and then is gone. Perhaps like their relationship. Okay? There's nothing to make it permanent, like vows or prayers or laws. Nothing at all. Then we get that last final stanza, see last gold sun behind clouds. Right? That's just about to go out. Something is beautiful for a moment. And it's beautiful because it is in a moment. Inked water in moonlight. And then we get a change in the structure here. No poems written to praise you, I write them white. So she puts this, what is normally in the second line repeated, she puts it on the last line, I write them white. And it changes the meter, right? You'll notice the meter throughout the poem is, well, we start with trimeter, no vows written to wed you, right? That's 3 beats, no vows written to wed you. I write them white, that's dimeter, my lips on yours, dimeter. So we get trimeter, dimeter, dimeter, and then light in the soft hours of our married years. That's tetrameter, 4 beats. And that seems to go throughout the poem in each stanza. Trimeter, 2 lines of dimeter, and then a tetrameter, which is rare for Helene Duffy. The structure isn't normally that regular, but it really is here, which hints at an inner harmony. Right? That's the point to make in your essay. It hints at an inner harmony of this relationship, that regular meter. It's rhythmical, but it changes in that last stanza, and you see that she gets rid of the tetrameter, and I write them white, ends in that kind of dimeter at the end there. Definite change. There's a difference to this harmony right at the end. So I think this is a beautiful poem because it looks at ephemerality, that these metaphors of ephemeral, the foam on a wave, the words on the wind, the tracing with a stick where we walk on the sand, where they've just written their names, we presume. Okay, we get the Romeo and Juliet reference of palm against palm, you know, the kind of a secretive love. So they just put their hands together, and you know, that's the only way they can show their love at this stage while she's leaning over the balcony. But it's, once again, a secretive love because of this 2013, 2014 legislation. It's a real historical point. Does it apply to heterosexual couples as well? Of course it does, because it suggests that we do not need vows or rules to make love permanent, or the fact that love is not permanent, whether you write it in stone or not, that the foam on a wave will disappear eventually. You know, people die. That the love still exists in that moment. And that's a great thing. And it doesn't need vows or rules to make them public or permanent. They're written in white. They are written though. They are written. Now, this connects with the non-existent voice in that, you know, it's sort of, the woman's voice is ignored, is silent, but it's still there. And this will connect us with Anon and the Virgin's memo. Okay, thanks very much.